Thursday, which means we have a special guest. Do you know who we have? We've got Ben Dixon, just a day out from me joining him on his show in the morning yesterday. He's going to be joining me today, which is going to be a lot of fun. We have an awesome guest coming up on Thursday as well, so definitely stay tuned for that. But thank you, everybody who's already here, those of you who were waiting for us to begin, those who hit the like button, thank you so much for that. We've got a bunch of stories we're going to be talking about in this pre-show, but I also wanted to let you know what's coming up on the full show, because we are going to be talking briefly, as was alluded to in the title, about Matt Gaetz attacking Mitch McConnell. He's not the only one. Right-wing media is coming for McConnell now, even though, again, as I'll remind you multiple times, he voted to acquit Trump. That doesn't mean they're not going to be attacking him nonstop. So we're going to have that in the pre-show and in the full show. By the way, I see messages in the chat about the storm. You know, a lot of people in a lot of different parts of America are being devastated right now by that storm. So, really sorry if you're experiencing that. I mean, some of you might not be able to watch because you don't have electricity as a result of that. Absolutely terrible in Texas, up in the Northeast as well. So, definitely sorry to hear that. We're going to be talking about that on the show a little bit as well. Some of the hypocrisy coming from the right about what the government should do when there's these sorts of crises as well. So, lots to talk about. Really fast, I wanted to mention, and I know that this is something that comes up very often, but I tweeted this, and I don't know if it's been coming through. I don't know if it's, obvious, but I'm very ready for everything to get back to normal. Isn't that a stupid thing to say? Like, well, yeah, obviously, everybody's ready for it to go back to normal, but I feel like, because I have you and the audience, that's really helped. I have my wife and my dog, so the home situation is really good. And that's really helped. And honestly, the election and all the chaos around it sort of provided a bit of a distraction from how much, generalized chaos was going on. But now we're mostly past that, and we're even past the impeachment. And so, yeah, I'm ready for things to go back to normal, like everyone getting vaccinated, being able to be here. And I don't even just mean in my whole life. That would be great. I would love that. Even just here, though, I would really be down for a return to normal here. I mean, I'm sitting in the middle of this room where all of my coworkers normally work, and there's almost nobody ever here. Nobody's here right now. It's me and Bart, basically. That's pretty much it. There should be people here. This should be, one of my producers sits there, and I should be sitting there, and Brett should be sitting right there. There should be a food truck outside that we occasionally go to. And it is just, as we get towards a full year, and we're going to have some sort of special for the year, the anniversary of the launch into the lockdown edition of the Damage Report. And my God, the fact that it actually reached a year. I really didn't think so. I'm naive about a lot of things. I really thought it would be a couple of weeks. I don't know. How long did you think, when the lockdowns first started, how long did you think it would take before everything was back to normal? I mean, I didn't think that it would be back to normal in a couple of weeks, but I didn't think we'd need to do lockdowns. Scott Johnson says, John, I look forward to listening to your show and seeing your handsome face. Thank you for all you do. Love you, Dragon Daddy. Also like the stream. Thank you. Yes, if everyone could like the stream, that would be great. Some people are saying 3 weeks, 6 weeks, months, 2 months, 2 years. Nobody thought it was 3 years. I think 2 to 3 months was a serious sort of thing. Oh, Beth Waller, I'm sorry to hear about your horse. That's terrible. Misty Bauer says, Painted Dragon here, important. Glenn Krishner is writing a letter to every state to prosecute Trump for mismanagement of COVID-19. For manslaughter, you can sign it. Please do. I think that's a great idea. I mean, oh, by the way, I don't know, maybe some of you already saw it, but for our level 2 and level 3 members, our top 10 list this week was the top 10 things Trump should have been impeached and convicted for, and spoiler alert, but COVID-19 was one of those things, and so I definitely support that. I think that you cannot simply say that just because he's the president, he can fail as much as he wants and it's totally cool. That's not cool. It's not okay. How is that not breaking laws? Anyway, yeah, thank you everybody for telling me your predictions. In terms of commercials, I don't know that it has any effect on, I don't know that it can have any effect on commercials, so I am sorry about that. Anyway, thank you for listening to me vent about my frustrations. Let's launch right into this. It's going to have to be a quick one because we still have a lot of production to do, but I wanted to give you 2 Matt Gaetz related stories because I know all of you out there are waiting to hear more about what's going on with Matt Gaetz. So the first is that he did in fact attack Mitch McConnell. Now, why? I mean, after all, Mitch McConnell delayed the impeachment trial until Republicans would be able to say, well, but he's already gone, as their little excuse. And then he voted to acquit him, but even that isn't enough because there's 2 things going on here. One is really more from the point of view of Trump, and I have to speculate about that, is that no amount of loyalty is enough from Trump's point of view. And there's a version of that for other people, but like Trump legit wants 100% loyalty. It's sort of honest in that way. From the point of view of all of the different rings of toadies and lackeys and all of that, the bootlickers, it's just the like I want to pick at everyone else. So if someone else is trying to get their tongue in there and I see that they do something just a little bit wrong, I'm going to attack it. I'm going to blow it up into something even bigger because I want Trump to hate this person and to pull the boot away temporarily. Perhaps give me a little bit more access to the dirt that's stuck in the treads. And so even though McConnell did so much to protect Trump, he said a few mean things about him. And so Matt Gaetz has to say, this is after he attacked the Lincoln Project, which, by the way, we're going to be talking about the Lincoln Project on the show later on. There are new incarnations of the Republican Party of those who are trying to purge Trumpism from our movement. And Matt Gaetz uses the idea that someone is trying to purge Trumpism and that he's calling it Trumpism. And that's a good thing from his point of view, that there is this Trumpism in their party. Frankly, the most dangerous was Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who took to the floor and essentially gave the Biden Justice Department cover to prosecute the president, his son, even his supporters who didn't engage in any violent conduct on January 6th. Now, this is one of the many things where they have this perception of Joe Biden, or at the very least they want to talk about Joe Biden being someone that Joe Biden isn't and never will be. Honestly, I don't even... Like, the DOJ is not going to be hunting down Trump and Trump Jr. If they do, it's going to have nothing to do with Joe Biden because Joe Biden isn't interested in that. He's looking forward. He's not looking back. But they believe in the vindictive use of the DOJ, and so they would assume that obviously their political opponents have got to be doing the same thing. So Mitch McConnell, even though he protected Donald Trump, he was a little bit critical of him, and so Matt Gaetz is going to throw him under the bus for his own purposes. But what's interesting is that while, we're going to get to some polls later on, so we got that. But in terms of 2024, who's going to be the presidential nominee, Matt Gaetz also had this to say, talking about Ron DeSantis. He said, what Ron DeSantis didn't say, which is the truth, is that the Biden folks know that if Donald Trump is not the candidate in 2024, the leader of our movement will be Ron DeSantis. Is that a thing that everybody knows? Is that just an assumed thing? Well, yeah, obviously Ron DeSantis. I mean, if it's not Donald Trump, it's got to be Ron. Who's assuming that? He is a strong potential presidential candidate in 2024. The Biden team knows that. And so they're trying to somehow cast aspersions on the Florida. Don't use the word aspersions. It doesn't mean anything anymore, thanks to, politicians like this. Smear doesn't mean anything anymore, too. Anyway, on the Florida experience, because you know what? Throughout America, there's a lot of Florida envy right now. What? Look, Florida's fine. My mom lives in Florida. I've had some good experiences in Florida. If you're in Florida, nothing against you. Who the fuck is jealous of Florida right now? Florida has been ravaged by COVID, in no small part because of people like Matt Gaetz, but especially Ron DeSantis, who doesn't fucking get it at all, has no idea how to even put on a mask literally months into the pandemic. The fuck are you talking about? Matt Gaetz is such a moron. And I know that Matt Gaetz is saying this. Secretly, Matt Gaetz is sure that he's going to be the nominee, that he's going to be the president. He gives fake State of the Unions into his bathroom mirror 3 times a week. You know that to be true. Like Ron DeSantis. Why is Ron DeSantis in office? Well, because he's a Republican and because he licked Trump's boots more than perhaps anyone else. He made campaign ads that were so cringy about how he was teaching his kid to be more like Trump, his baby, and his wife was in it. He was just sucking up to Trump with his wife in the ad. I'm not going to complete that. You know where I'm going with this, and you know what that was playing into. And he was doing it willingly, and his wife was involved in it. And God knows what, like after they came out the other end of that commercial, God only knows what respect was left for him in her. But yeah, he's strong contender. Strong contender. I mean, why not? Sure, he's a Republican, and oh God. Anyway, let's see how strong of a contender he is. New 2024 primary poll, and I know so many people are not remotely interested in this, so we'll go quickly. Trump is at 53%. Mike Pence at 12%, and those 12 don't care about Mike Pence. They'll put him on there because he's, he was the VP. They don't fucking care about Mike Pence. Don Jr. at 6%, Nikki Haley at 6%. They're not supporting Nikki Haley. Mitt Romney at 4%. Ted Cruz at 4%. So Mitt Romney and Ted Cruz at 4%. Marco Rubio at 2%. No, they don't fucking care about him either. Mike Pompeo at 2%. Who's interested in Mike Pompeo? Josh Hawley at 1%, tied with Tom Cotton, Tim Scott, Kristi Noem, Larry Hogan, and still beating Rick Scott, which is interesting. Josh Hawley, what a dumb little idiot. He's at 1%. He really thought, okay, man, betraying democracy and supporting this insurrection, oh God, should I really do it? Well, it'll catapult me to the front of the pack. No, it won't. God, you're not even doing Jeb numbers, Josh Hawley. You're not good enough at this. You're not good, like right-wing populism. Well, people aren't interested, and they're certainly not interested in him. Anyway, I'm moving on. I don't want to. We're gonna have more than enough time over the next couple of years where we're talking about polls like that. I've got other polls that I think are more interesting, and I want to poll you as well in just a moment before we finish this thing. Let's see. Make sure that I'm all caught up on your messages. Jander, Trumpism, the new phalangism. Richard Rose says, thinking about doing a series of short, fun videos on the history of progressivism, from British train yards to today, you or TYT want to team up. That does sound awesome. I'm not necessarily free to sign on any new projects, but that does sound very interesting, and I think that there would be a lot of interest in that. Wayne says, isn't it fun, even a luxury, to speculate what Trump thinks, rather than suffer the constant stream of consciousness that he spewed on social media? Yeah, it is actually. By the way, I wanted to let you know, so one of the things we do for our level 3 members is that we have a monthly Q&A. So it's that time of the month. So right now there should already be a post up on the community tab where you can post some questions that you want me to answer. We're also going to be doing it live. So if you're a tier 3 member, you'll be able to be in the chat, and we'll be going back and forth. That's going to be happening this Thursday, by the way. We'll give you more details on the show. But if you want to, so that you don't forget some questions, you can post them in that. We'll be putting it on Twitter and stuff like that as well. So that should be fun too. We had a lot of fun the last time. Okay, let's see. NJVJ says, DeSantis would crumble on a national stage. He has the presence of a piece of toast. I hope he's the nominee. I mean, look, honestly, back when he was running for governor, I didn't really follow it too much. I mean, he won because it's Florida and it's a really close state that's leading Republican. That's why he won. I've never seen anything out of him that he seemed dynamic or interesting or intelligent or even like, obviously those are things that are supposed to appeal to the left, but like things that are supposed to appeal to the right. Like, I don't think he has that stuff either. He's not, fake strong, or is he better at owning the libs? I don't know. I mean, look, you lick Trump's boots to get Trump to support you. I get that. And it worked, by the way, for DeSantis. Trump did support him for governor. But when it comes to being president, Trump is either going to run as a third-party candidate, or he's not going to run, and maybe he'll choose one of them to lend his support to, but he's not going to be like seriously working hard day after day to get someone else elected in a way that doesn't benefit him at all. But that is the calculation they're making. They think that is what is going to happen. And not just him, also, Hawley and Cruz and all of them. Anyway, by the way, to that point, in a recent Gallup poll, support for a third party hits a new high, with 62% now saying a major third party is needed. but almost all of that increase is Republicans saying they want a third party. The numbers jumped from 40 to 63% in the Republican Party. They want a third party, and I don't think it's the Evan McMullin true conservative center-right party. It's the even more blatantly Trump and Q party, which is what the Republican Party is. Honestly, like, if you were a member of Republican leadership, how frustrated must you be? How much more can you capitulate to Trump? How much more can you give him? What less could you do to hem Trump in than you've done? And they still want to flee for a different party. I feel for them. I really do feel for them. Anyway, related to that, there's a poll. 55% say that even though Trump was acquitted in the Senate, they want him to be banned from running for office, although 87% of Republicans want him to still be able to run. So, my question for you is, do you want him to be banned via a vote in Congress from running? Or do you want him to be free to? Obviously, that is independent of whether you think he is likely to run, but do you want him to be able to still run? If there was a vote, how would you vote in that? So, let's get some answers and I'll see what people think. Mama Bear Dragon says, Gaetz looked like his face was crafted out of Play-Doh, and then he was left out in the hot sun to droop and melt. He needs the makeup to cover it up. Poor guy. Abandoned. Hot in the sun. Okay, immediately I'm seeing a lot of bans. Gabby, Anna, Elisa, Swimming Bird, Tribatiki, hey Tree, Arcane Worm, ban, BS, ban. Yes, ban his butt. Well, don't ban his butt specifically. Absolute banned, Gabriella. Jody says, ban him, ban. Shakes head. Chris Nesbitt. Is that a ban? I don't know. Banned. I want him off the face of the earth. That is not an option. Bear Williams doesn't want him elected dog catcher again. Let's see. Okay, you know, it's interesting. I honestly, sometimes I ask, having a feeling if I know what your answer is. I thought more people would be against it. You know, for whatever, probably a variety of reasons. Wanting him to take up the Republicans' time and effort and money, believing that he can be beaten again, thinking that, I don't know, like you want to see him beaten again. I don't know. I just assume that would be a bigger part of it. But it looks pretty, I mean, there are a few people who are saying they want it. Matt Gunnarsson wants him to run as a third-party candidate. I think I know why you're saying that, but Forbesilla says, if there is a third party that the Republicans push for, then third parties can participate in the presidential debates. Higher chances of progressives winning. Maybe. I don't know. If Trump was leading it, I feel like the mainstream media maybe would let him. They would still have to set standards. I honestly don't know how that would shake out. Banned, drowned. Well, we can't do that. Tar and feather. We could look into it. Okay. Chris Rickard says, nah, let him run his third party and watch Republicans lose national seats for at least a decade. I mean, pragmatically, that's probably the best option, honestly. Send him to Mars. He can go with Elon Musk, honestly. Give him a Model S on Mars. Let him roll around to his heart's content. Ugh. Anyway, there were some other stories, but I don't know. We got to prep for the show because we've got a little bit of fallout for McConnell. The war against McConnell, by the way, is not being prosecuted just by Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is part of it, but he's hardly the most influential Republican that thinks this is the time that they're going to take Mitch McConnell down. But we've got stuff with the post office. We've got a lot that we got to talk about. P. Penna says, I don't want 4 years of the Republicans pushing laws just to keep the idiot happy. Yeah, honestly, look, if they banned him and if that was it, they would still want his support. He'd be less likely to want to give it, I think. They'd still want his support, but they would move on to something crazy. But that said, I might be willing to roll the dice on something new crazy rather than them continuing to try to make him happy, give him what he wants. Because that's not great either. But anyway, Ben Dixon is going to be joining me on the show in just a little bit. I'm going to go get some coffee, make yourself a little bit of breakfast. There's time for toast, maybe even of the French variety, and I will see you soon.